Welcome to days 9 through 12 of the Stretch with Gretch 40-day home yoga practice challenge. Today we're adding seated poses and forward bends. To properly sequence days 9 through 12, you'll start with the first 3 poses from days 1 through 4. Hold each of those poses for 60 to 90 seconds. Then do the standing poses from days 5 through 8. Challenge yourself to hold those poses on each side for 30 seconds. That's up to a minute in each pose. For today's challenge, you'll need a couple of blankets, a strap, and your wooden block. Now pause this video, get the poses from days 1 and 4 and 5 through 8 done, and come back to learn Baddha Konasana, Upavista Konasana, and Paschimottanasana. For today's poses, I'm going to be using 1 blanket. You may need more, and I'll explain why as I demonstrate the poses. Our first pose is Baddha Konasana, bound angle pose. I'm going to sit onto 1 blanket just underneath my sit bones. There's no thigh on the blanket. I'm going to let my legs completely relax, grab behind my knees with my fingers, and pull my knees out. Turn my thighs out as I do that. Then I'll bring my ankles in so that my feet touch very close to my sit bones, and I can use my hands behind me to sit up tall. Now, if when you get to this position, your knees stay quite high, then take a bit more height underneath your sit bones. Add a second, maybe even a third blanket, and then you can also lean back a bit into the pose. All right? For now, I press down into my hands, roll my arm bones back to open my chest. Now I want my knees to touch the floor. I don't get them on the floor just by pushing them down. I have to lengthen this groin muscle. So I'm going to push my feet together and stretch my knees in opposite directions. So I'm lengthening from my inner groin out through my knee. Press the feet together, stretch the knees in opposite directions, and keep going until I feel contact with the floor. Now, I can tell right now my left knee is on the ground, my right knee not so much. So I have to focus on the right side, press that right foot more, and stretch that right groin more until the right knee catches up with the left. Don't worry if your knees don't touch the floor yet, just keep working. Press your hands down to lift your chest and take your arm bones back to open your chest. This is Baddha Konasana, bound angle pose. To come out of this, relax your arms, bring your knees together, and straighten out your legs. Our second pose is Upavista Konasana, seated angle pose. I'm still sitting up on my 1 blanket. If it's hard for you to sit up straight with your legs out in front of you, then maybe take a bit more height. I'm going to take my left leg wide and my right leg wide. I want there to be more than 90 degrees between my thighs. If you're not quite there yet, just keep working. Now, I don't want my toes to tip back towards the wall behind me. I also don't want my toes to roll forward so that my knees are turning in. I want the knees straight up towards the ceiling and the toes straight up towards the ceiling. I can support myself with my hands again. Now, I'm going to press out through my heels to completely straighten my knees. And then to get more of the back of my leg onto the floor, I'm going to push a bit into the ball of my foot. I'm not pointing my foot, but I'm just letting that ball of the foot push forward slightly. And I feel a lot more contact with the back of my leg on the floor. I press my thighs down to help lift my torso, take my arm bones back to open my chest. This is Upavista Konasana, seated angle pose. We can turn this into a forward bend by bringing the hands to the front of the mat. And like we did on day 1, we're going to keep lifting the sternum bone towards the chin and pulling the upper back in, walking the hands forward and coming into a forward bend. Now, the point at which your upper back starts to round and your chest starts to cave is where you stop. Back your hands up a bit, repress the thighs, pull with the hands to pull the upper back in. You want a nice flat back as you do these forward bends. Those of you who are more flexible can reach out and catch your toes and then pull with your hands to pull the upper back in. Press the thighs down to lengthen the torso and bring the upper back down towards the floor until, I'm not going to make it today, your chin touches the floor. To come out of the pose, we'll bend the knees, bring the feet together, and straighten out the legs. Our next pose is Paschimottanasana. Paschima literally translates to west, and then we have the Uttanasana, like we did from the first day, intense stretch. So this is intense stretch of the west, or a seated forward bend. This is a yoga pose, Dandasana. I press out through my heels, press my thighs down to lift my torso, and press my hands down to lift my chest. I maintain all of that, and I inhale and lift my arms. This is a great back strengthening exercise right here. Now I'm going to exhale, sternum bone towards my chin, upper back in, and come forward to catch my feet. If, as I say in class, you brought your short arms with you to forward bend class, then you can lift your arms with a strap and bring the strap out over your feet. Pull with your hands, push with your feet to lift the sternum bone and pull the upper back in. To deepen the pose, I bend my elbows up and out, and I pull my chest forward as I bring my upper back down, my belly rests onto my thighs, and my head comes down onto my shins. To come out, I come back to that nice flat back, press my thighs down to come up with my arms, and then exhale back to Dandasana or staff pose. I'm going to demonstrate Paschimottanasana once again from the side so you can see the shape of my back. Press the thighs down to lift the chest and inhale and bring the arms up. Right now, before I start to bend forward, I'm going to lift my sternum bone and pull my upper back in, and I'm going to maintain that as I bend forward at my hips and come down to catch my feet. I'm going to re-engage that back by pulling with my hands, pushing with my feet, and pulling my upper back in. I press my thighs down to get more length out of my torso, and then bend my elbows out and up and pull my chest forward to come down. Any point at which you start to feel your upper back rounding, that's where you'll stop in your pose. And instead of just coming over with an ineffective, unsafe stretch, you'll work on pulling with the hands, pushing with the feet, and moving that upper back in. That may be here catching the feet. It could even be somewhere back here. That's your work for today. Now to completely finish the sequence for days 9 through 12, lie down in Savasana from days 1 through 4, set your timer and stay for 3 to 5 minutes. I'll see you on the mat in a few days. Namaste.